All right, everyone. I've got a box of books here, and it's waiting to divulge all of the books that I've been buying lately. Uh, but first off, I just wanted to mention I haven't had a video out for a couple of weeks. I've been traveling around a bit. I was in Cincinnati for a few days with the 707s. Um, and we just had our first official lit magazine published. It's called Fathoms. It's on Amazon, and I'd say there's some pretty excellent stuff in there. And I designed and formatted the whole thing, so I'm pretty proud of that. And then a week after that, I went to staying in Wildwood Crest, New Jersey, and uh, around that area in the Cape May area for a week. And during those trips, I did buy several books. It was kind of uh, the year's book buying phase, I would say. I've kind of limited myself um, in more like just because of recent circumstances, but also because I've just gotten tired of collecting, and I'm not buying as much media as I was, but only because I've become more discerning and also because of space. But there's less stuff that I know that I'm going to get to, and then I'm also getting rid of some things and whatnot. And that's the whole thing too. When you watch a lot of these kinds of videos, it does give you a sort of collecting bug when you see somebody hold up a book on the screen. It becomes this sort of idealized object, and um, yeah, and there have been some books that have been recommended. I know if you watch throughout the booktube sphere, and there's some books that are recommended with high praise, and then you kind of get to the book, or you think about it more, and you're like, that's not really something that I would be interested in. That's not like my thing. I mean, I could read some stuff outside of my uh, normal channel, but um, ultimately, I think like I'm just riding off of the excitement garnered by watching some of these videos. Um, Now that being said, it's just inevitable that you have to show the books on screen. You have to, you know, recommend books. You have to do that sort of thing, and but really think about the clamor. Consider that when it arises. Um, like the clamor for books that sound intriguing and are, um, but just think about how much, what you'll actually get to. And that's what I'm considering more as of late. Um, but anyway, yeah, so I did splurge recently, and I don't, and it was something I had planned for ahead of time. So first off, the main bookstore I went to in Cincinnati was called Ohio Bookstore. It is a fantastic bookstore. It is, um, I think it was something like um, five floors more or less, and a mezzanine. Um, Two of those floors were not air conditioned. um, and then there was a basement, and the basement was where all the goods, like the science fiction paperbacks and fantasy stuff was. But while I was there, found this. My friend Phil found this. And this goes along with this project. Recently, I've been thinking about American fantasy, and its origins, and what makes it unique. Uh, and that pertains to a creative project of my own. And so, yeah, Washington Irving's sketchbook, including all of the sort of thoughts and stories and whatnot. And you've got Sleepy Hollow and the like. But so I had wanted to find the Ipcris file. But I did find a Len Deighton book, An Expensive Place to Die. And that would be my first Len Deighton. And I don't know how, he comes recommended. So, I would think it would be worthwhile, and especially just kind of in that kind of fiction, it probably wouldn't be a bad time. And when I was over at in Cape May, there was a bookstore called Barrier Island Books, which has multiple locations in the area. There's a couple in Stone Harbor, but this one was Keith Roberts, which I've heard all the recommendations of Pavin, and but this in and of itself was very intriguing. So let's see. Also from Ohio Bookstore, I found this as taken from the Ballantine Adult Fantasy series, and these are retellings of Welsh mythological stories, written by Evangeline Walton. And I really don't have much to go off on this, other than the cover, other than the Ballantine Adult Fantasy series is really, you can hardly go wrong with it. This, a copy of One Day in the Life of Ivan Denisovich. Only bought it for the cover because that is, oh, for crying out loud, come on. That is probably the best cover I've seen for this book. Although the frickin' shop owner put a price sticker on the outside of the book, which then took off some of the cover when I peeled it away. Just write it in the front page. Just write the price there. You don't but anyway, one really cool thing I found at the Ohio Bookstore was this Ace Fitzroy edition of Jules Verne's For the Flag. And I've been wanting to get into Jules Verne, actually at the, kind of since Phil Stankus of the 707s has started reading his stuff and recommending it. And these editions, there were half a dozen of these there, and they're just wonderful. I mean, yeah, it was very exciting reading about Jules Verne's lesser known books, and I've got another one coming in the mail, but this one was a little pricier, rarer, but I think just having this kind of livery on it really sells the experience, because I don't want a contemporary envisioning of this material while I'm reading it. Like, that does hang in my mind as I'm reading it. So let's see. Okay, also when I was at the beach, I got this Cooper novel, The Deer Slayer, and was just reading the opening of it and really, I don't know, just gelling with the vibe. It's in the same vein as why I got this Washington Irving sketchbook. I want to really get into the American literature, the older ones, the ones that are steeped in the land, in the folklore and the landscape and the old aspect of it. And going off of that again, so there's a bookstore in Wildwood called Hooked on Books, and I go there every time, and they're pretty good for collecting like classics. Um, but this was on my list of books that I wanted to find, and it's Charles Brockden Brown's Wieland, I guess. Um, and again, this is this weird sounding early American novel um, that has all kinds of strange stuff in it, and is a precursor to, well, heck, I don't know. I'm not gonna make an informed statement about genre lineage, but yeah. And next is the Funko file, which I got at Ohio Bookstore down in their SF section. And if this thing will focus for God, okay. But what was very intriguing about this was not only the bonkers kind of cover, but it's about these. It says a boy who can call up poltergeists, prostitute who can levitate, accountant who writes indelible blue fire in the air, and and this soldier who kills anyone who comes within 4 feet of him, but they're all seems fighting against this all-consuming artificial intelligence computer. It sounds more fanciful than. It's definitely not hard SF, and that's why I got it. In fact, that's what my leanings have been lately. So I don't know if anyone knows anything about that, but that spoke to me in a way. Another book that seemed a little more offbeat SF was The Girl with the Jade Green Eyes by John Boyd. Jumped out to me because of the Penguin SF cover. And yeah, that's about it for that. I mean, then I got Kate Wilhelm's Juniper Time, and I believe I'd seen some good recommendations of this. I loved Where Late the Birds Sang, Where Late the Sweet Birds Sang, but yeah. So I mean, that should. That's gonna at least be a decent time. Now, got some. Okay, one more thing I got from the Ohio Bookstore was this, The Narrow Act, Borges' Art of Illusion by Ronald Christ, and I don't have. I was reading a lot of Borges on the trip, actually, the trip to in Wildwood Crest, and I don't have a lot of literary criticism, but one thing I do appreciate about Borges is how compact his stories are, and they contain a lot of pieces of other writings, and the stories in themselves allude to non-existent things and stuff like that, which is always interesting for me. So that was one of the only nonfiction things that I got. Now the next bunch of books were freebies, courtesy of the other members of the 707s. So first, Nathan McBride gave me this Ray Bradbury's R is for Rocket. And I'm not a big Bradbury fan, but there are some classic stories of his that are really, really good. And this cover is also pretty excellent. And then, so Joel Davidson had acquired a lot of books from a pastor from his church, or I think so, who was giving away a bunch of these books or so. So I got first off, I got this, which is C.S. Lewis's Till We Have Faces, and I'd never seen this cover before, so I had to pick that one. And there was also, since I had read Charles Williams recently and did not go running scared from him, there was a whole stack of other Charles Williams books. So I got All Hallows Eve, Many Dimensions, Place of the Lion, Shadows of Ecstasy, and last but not least, the one I'm going to be reading next probably is Descent into Hell. And so I guess if I wasn't dedicated to reading more Charles Williams, and now I am. But so that's my recent book haul. I think I'm pretty set. These are all going to stay in this box though, because I've got a few other books I'm moving through currently. And I guess when I finish the most recent one, you'll find out what that is when I do a review of it. But anyway, yeah, so that's about it for today. So thanks for watching, and remember, collect smart. That's not a new catchphrase. It's just my advice for the day. All right. Have a good one.